Ah yes, Persona 4 Golden. You know those gaming series that stick with you throughout your entire life? Well, for me, it all began with Persona 1 on the good old PSX, back when I was just a junior school kid. How I managed to get my hands on that elusive CD is still a mystery, considering where I'm from, JRPGs are so rare as a unicorn riding a unicycle. But let me tell you, I played through that school sequence in Persona 1 so many times I thought I was the coolest kid in town. Sadly, my young and foolish self couldn't progress much further than that. I mean, come on, when you are 7 years old, playing JRPGs with complex combat systems is like attempting to solve quantum physics equations. And let's just say I wasn't exactly the sharpest crayon in the box, if you catch my drift. Fast forward about 10 years and there I was diving into Persona 3 on my trusty PS2. I didn't finish it, but hey, I made up for it by completing FAS on PSP. And then came Persona 4. Oh boy, did I play that game multiple times. PS2, emulator, you name it. But it wasn't until much later, in the glorious realm of adulthood, that I finally managed to finish Persona 4 Golden on my PS Vita. Ah, the joys of being able to afford games, am I right? And you see, Persona games have always been a staple of JRPGs for me. They are challenging, lengthy, and boast captivating stories that entice you to revisit them from time to time, just to get that sweet taste of nostalgia. But of course, no matter how many times you play, it never quite compares to that first experience. You know, those warm summer nights, playing these games at home during a study break with not a care in the world. But enough reminiscing. Finally, in my 30s, it's time to embark on the quest for the Persona 4 Platinum Trophy. And believe me, it won't be easy. It'll be as long and challenging as a game of Monopoly with your in-laws. So buckle up folks and get ready for the adventure of a lifetime. Now, Persona 4 Golden boasts a whopping 50 achievements, and to be honest, I don't really worry about most of them, but there are just a few that require special kind of preparation. And I'm not talking about in-game preparation or grinding or something like that, I'm talking about Excel spreadsheets kind of preparation. Yeah. For now, let me tell you about the plan. So we'll need 2 playthroughs to conquer all of the achievements. In the first playthrough, I'll be focusing on maxing out social links and my character's attributes. On the second playthrough, we'll get the rest of the achievements and a couple of unique ones. Oh, and by the way, I must warn you, there will be spoilers. And by spoilers, I mean I'm going to spoil the shit out of this game. I'll spill the beans on all the social links, true endings and everything in between. So, if by some miraculous chance you haven't played this game since 2012, I suggest you hit that pause button, go spend a solid 100 hours immersed in Persona 4 and then come back. Bonus points for you if you manage to resist closing this tab while you're at it. So, we begin the game and I choose the custom difficulty, which is basically hard mode with a bit of extra XP and money to alleviate the grind. Anyway, we arrive in Inaba and meet Uncle Dojima and his daughter Nanako. We explore the town and settle into our new room. On our first day at school, we learn about the brutal murder of a local TV host and the existence of a local urban legend called the Midnight Channel. Midnight Channel supposedly appears if you watch TV at midnight on a rainy day. Naturally, we try it out and it appears that it actually works. The next day, we also meet our classmates Yosuke, Chie and Yukiko. We share our discovery about the Midnight Channel and together we also watch it, catching a glimpse of a girl who bears a striking resemblance to Saki Konishi, one of our senpais. The next day, this exact Saki Konishi is murdered in the same manner as the TV host. This strengthens our suspicion that the Midnight Channel is somehow involved, so we decide to venture into the TV world to investigate. With Yosuke as our companion, we enter the TV world and encounter his shadow. Yosuke struggles with the realization that it was his own boredom with the small town that brought him here, rather than a more noble cause. His shadow takes on a monstrous form representing his suppressed desires. We awaken our own persona and, alone, we valiantly battle the shadow, emerging victorious. And with that triumph, we earn our first achievement, fittingly named The Other Self. We continue with our daily lives and not long after, Yukiko gets kidnapped. Finally, the moment arrives when the real gameplay commences, and let me tell you, I am excited as a monkey riding a bicycle through a tornado. I have to say, I had to get used to starting fights with shadows at first, so it took me a while until I actually could get behind an enemy to ambush them and get the next achievement, Advantage Mine. We get through half of the dungeon and rescue Chie from her shadow self, recruit her in the party and continue forward to save Yukiko. Though we can't save her right now as the game plugs us out of the TV world. By the way, just a quick note, I will be mostly doing dungeons in one day where possible. We'll do it in order to save time as we need to do all the social links and other activities, so it will be crucial. From here, we close some first-hand achievements that we can do in the city. This includes winning an additional drink from the vending machine to get Lucky Me. Around this time we also establish our first social links with Yosuke, Chie and Mary. I will not go into social link details now, but I will let you know when I start one and when I finish a social link with a small overview of the whole plotline. Also around this time we start reading books anytime we don't have anything to do during the evening, as we need to read all the books in the game for an achievement. Not long after we also go to Souzai Daigaku store on a rainy day to buy a special Super Croquette and get Seize the Moment achievement. And right away we go to the drugstore to try the capsule machine there. You see, these capsule machines are notorious for not working all the time, but on a rainy day the dial gets loosened up or something, so you can actually use it. It nets us another achievement called It's Working Today. We also joined the football club to start the new social link, and before you know it, it is time to save Yukiko for real now. First thing I do is change the outfits of the characters that look pretty familiar and win a battle to get Fashion Plate achievement. Not long after we also get Tactical Fighter achievement by exploiting enemies' weaknesses 100 times. Finally, we reach Shadow Yukiko boss fight, and true to Persona fashion, she denies her shadow self and transforms into a majestic boss resembling a bird trapped in a golden cage. With a few well-placed ice attacks, we make a quick work of the bird, and let's not forget about the moment when she summons the prince. It may seem a tad bit intimidating, but worry not, for it's more of a gimmick than a genuine threat.
A few moments later.
We press on, fighting with all our might until we finally emerge victorious, subduing Shadow Yukiko and welcoming her into our team eventually. And this is the first dungeon completed, and we are rewarded with an achievement called A Prince Appears. After that, we also register a few skill cards and earn a Favor for Mary achievement. Little did I know is that there would be an even greater challenge ahead, registering 100 skill cards. It's quite a grind, my friends, but fear not, we shall embark on that journey towards the end of our first playthrough. We'll save the tales of the skill card grinding for a later time. At the same time, we also happen to buy back Izanagi from the Compendium, and get Persona Shopper achievement. And during one of our fusion sessions, we also get an unexpected fusion results, and that net us the Nose Doesn't Always Know achievement. And talk about luck, by the way, because sometimes you have to play the game for ages before stumbling upon this achievement, and I got it pretty early. And during this time we also get into a lot of new social links. We connect with Yumi from Drama Club, Nanako, Dojima, form relationships with Adachi, Yukiko, Margaret, Eri Minami, and even forge a unique social link with none other than the Fox from the Shrine. And by the way, the Fox social link is pretty much quest driven, so you have to complete side stories for this social link to advance. And by the way, I'm not going to do only the Fox's quests, I will do every single quest that the game has to offer. It's an ambitious endeavor, but we can get a lot of cool items from that, and it will help us during the playthrough. And as such, we go on with our daily lives, and I mainly progress through social links and through social stats as well. until Main comes knocking and Kanji gets himself into a bit of a pickle. So being the brave heroes that we are, we dive headfirst into the TV world to rescue him and find ourselves in the majestic steamy bathhouse dungeon. And I must say, this dungeon was way ahead of its time with all the gachimuchi memes right now. But before we take the plunge, we make a quick detour to revisit Yosuke's dungeon and Yukiko's elegant castle dungeon to stock up on quest items and materials. As we venture through the depths of Yukiko's dungeon, amidst the grinding and battling, fortune finally smiles upon us and we come across the elusive Golden Hand. I stumbled upon a few Golden Hands before, but I couldn't really defeat them, but I got lucky with this one, so finally we get the glorious Grasping at Greed achievement. Shortly thereafter, we finally arrive at a steamy bathhouse and obtain the Skilled Commander achievement for doing 50 all-out attacks. And shortly after, we reach the end of Kanji's dungeon, where we engage in a thrilling battle against one of the game's most formidable bosses, in my opinion. Well, just take a look at him, he's awesome. Additionally, I truly believe that more bosses in this game should incorporate additional mobs. This feature truly enhances the depths of the boss difficulty, in my opinion. Once we successfully rescue Kanji, he awakens his persona, and following a series of captivating cutscenes, we are rewarded with a True Man Stand achievement. Afterwards, we resume our daily routines and eventually fulfill the necessary prerequisites to begin catching bugs. Bug catching holds significant importance for the fishing in the future, so we will dedicate several days to this activity. The first time we swing the net with perfect timing, we are rewarded with the Bug Hunter achievement. And we also have plenty of time until the next dungeon, so we seize this opportunity to enhance our social links and forge new connections with Kanji, Uehara, and Teddy. But of course, with the arrival of the next rainy days, the killer strikes again and abducts another victim, which is Risei Kujikawa. After conducting some investigations, we venture into the Marikyu striptease dungeon. Naturally, before proceeding, we return to the bathhouse first to grind for some quest items. And during our stay there, we also achieve Fill Your Hand for obtaining a sweep bonus 50 times. And not long after we finish our grinding session at the bathhouse, we return to the Marikyu striptease dungeon and make swift progress, reaching the final boss without encountering a lot of difficulties. We confront Shadow Risei and subsequently face the formidable Shadow Teddy boss, widely regarded as one of the toughest fights in the game. For me, Shadow Teddy was always a gatekeeper to the mid-game of Persona 4, because he's really tanky and forces players to utilize all the mechanics they have mastered thus far, such as buffing, debuffing, guarding, exploiting weaknesses, and utilizing items and everything else. During this battle, we also gain Displaying Adaptability achievement for changing our persona 5 times during a single fight. Finally, Shadow Teddy is defeated, and following a series of cutscenes, we are rewarded with the Lounge is Closed achievement for successfully completing the dungeon. Immediately after witnessing a drunken Dojima unleashing a string of curses, we wake up to a beautiful Sunday morning. We decide to place another order for items from Tanaka's TV shop, aiming to obtain the Granter of Your Desires achievement. This achievement is awarded after placing 5 orders with Tanaka, which is relatively easy to accomplish since the game constantly reminds you that you haven't ordered anything in a while from the TV shop. And it's simply a matter of time until you unlock it. Furthermore, I highly recommend ordering regularly from Tanaka's shop, as it offers a variety of excellent items that are really worth obtaining. Again, we find ourselves in the phase of living an ordinary life, engaging in everyday activities. During this time, we establish additional social links with Saki's brother Naoki, nurse Sayoko, Risei, and elderly lady Hisano. At the same time, we obtain our motorbike license and enjoy a few rides before gaining access to Okina City. Once there, we save scum a little bit by skipping a few days and inviting our friends to the movies. We have to do it 3 times to get the movie buff achievement. After that, I just load the save back, so we gain back the 3 days that we wasted for movies, basically. Sometime later, we diligently prepare for and excel in our exams, achieving outstanding results and earning the prestigious Head of the Class achievement. By the way, if you speak to Dojima after excelling in your exams, he will give you some money. So you can do this after all the exams in the game. So make sure to speak to him to get some additional cash. And finally, August arrives and we find ourselves in a new dungeon, the Void Quest. Personally, it's my favorite dungeon in the game. From its quirky design and captivating music to the thrilling and challenging boss fight, it never fails to impress me. The boss battle with Shadow Mitsuo is particularly lengthy and tests your skills to the fullest. It is worth noting that this is the first boss to regularly employ almighty damage, making it incredibly dangerous. Even with my level of preparation and experience from multiple playthroughs, I often find myself dying once or twice during this first encounter with Shadow Mitsuo. Even despite being over-leveled for the fight due to experience boosts, there are still moments when the boss can effortlessly one-shot the main hero, putting me in severe danger on multiple occasions. But upon defeating Mitsuo, we are rewarded with Game Over achievement and resume our daily lives once again. And at certain point, after completing the Void Quest dungeon, Chie's social link reaches level 9 and I make the decision to pursue romantic relationships with her. And it's not solely because I believe Chie is the best girl, but rather because I have previously pursued romances with Yukiko and Rise during earlier playthroughs, and additionally Naoto is currently unavailable, so I figure why not give Chie a chance this time, right? And as a result of embarking on this new romance, we unlock the Special Lady achievement, marking the beginning of our first romantic relationships. And practically the next day, after doing some fishing and catching the River Guardian, we also max out Chie's social link and get True Bond achievement. And before diving deeper, I'd like to take a moment to briefly discuss the Arcanas that represent each social link. When people come across the Persona series, they often find themselves researching the meanings behind these Taro Arcanas. You see, each Arcana holds a specific significance, and every Tarot card can be either in an upright position, which generally denotes positive traits, or in a reversed position representing negativity and often the opposite of the upright meaning. Upon further exploration, you'll discover that Arcana associated with each social link is actually closely connected to its corresponding story. But at the same time, while some connections are more obvious, others are less apparent, and nonetheless, I will touch upon the Arcana when discussing each social link to provide you with some additional insight. And to be honest, it was very interesting to research that Arcana and Taro lore and how everything connects with the stories of the social links. So before we go into Chie's social link, let's begin with the Fool Arcana, which represents the player and their team. We won't delve deeply into the social link here, as the Fool typically signifies the protagonist in the Persona series, and this social link progresses automatically throughout the game and reaches its maximum upon achieving the good ending. In Persona 3 we have C's, in Persona 4 the investigation team, and in Persona 5 the Phantom Thieves. The Fool is a tarot card symbolizing the start of a new journey, and initially the Fool represents the main character who is unprepared for the challenges that the fate has in store for him. So you and the protagonist must embark on a journey, gaining experience and overcoming hardships along the way. Quite interesting is that in the reverse position, the Fool also represents recklessness and stupidity, which can be evident if one encounters any of the bad endings in the game. Overall, while discussing every social link in Persona 4, we can generally observe that most characters begin with their tarot cards in the reversed position. And as you progress through the social link and help them understand themselves, their cards gradually turn upright, revealing their positive traits. Alright, so we maxed out Chie's social link and let's chat about it for a moment. It starts off calmly with Chie inviting you to train with her at the riverbank because apparently she's been breaking shoji doors at home and her parents want her to train outside. The social link mainly revolves around Chie's determination to become stronger, conquering her fears, and dealing with living in Yukiko's shadow, basically, embracing her femininity and all that jazz. Until around rank 3, we learned some interesting tidbits about her. Turns out that she's terrified of bugs, for example, and from kindergarten onwards she was determined to assemble a gang similar to Power Rangers or something like that. Unfortunately, she was ridiculed by other boys and classmates for her aspirations. But hey, she never showed any remorse, so it seems like she's pretty committed to it and wants to be more like Yukiko in some way. As the ranks progress, we delve into the scenes with the bullies, which bring up the central dilemma of the social link. If you step in and confront the bullies alongside Chie, they will flee, and she'll get mad at you because it seems like they are not scared of her just because she's a girl. But here is the deeper layer. Chie has always been an outcast because of her hobbies that were considered unfeminine. She loves meat and kung fu movies, so she often found herself alone. I can kind of relate to that, and I mean, I didn't meet anyone in real life who played Persona 4, for example, until just recently, so yeah, I totally get how she feels. And Chie's social link in general doesn't delve into any heavy drama, however, it remains true to her arcana, which is Chariot. The reversed meaning of the Chariot arcana signifies a lack of control and direction in life, and underlying anger, which is evident in the initial stages of the social link. As we progress and complete the social link, we witness Chie becoming more composed and gaining the willpower to regain control over her life. This represents the transition of her arcana towards an upright position, although it may not have fully reached the point just yet. By the way, it's worth noting that Chariot arcanas in general are often associated with physically active characters. Like in Persona 3 we have Katsushi, a member of the sports club, representing the Chariot arcana. Similarly in Persona 5, Ryuji's social link is closely connected to his track and field team, aligning with the characteristic of Chariot arcana as well. So all in all, it's a pretty solid subplot with Chie, and I understand why many people like her and choose to romance her. Plus, I have to say, she's genuinely a nice person, you know? Maybe a little impulsive and over the top, but when she says she wants to protect everyone, you kinda believe her. And that's the best part, I think. She doesn't expect anything in return. Speaking of romance route, she becomes super adorable and goofy during romantic events, which actually adds to her character. But I was a bit surprised when, I think on Christmas, she said something like, "Oh, by the way, I told my parents I'd be staying at Yukiko's place." And I'm like, sheesh. But then I remembered that I'm a grown adult watching teenagers romance each other. And yeah, it kind of made me sad. And actually, it's almost heart-wrenching when she expresses her surprise, saying something like, "I'm genuinely amazed you picked me." I mean, yeah, she wouldn't be shocked if you picked Yukiko or Rise because of their looks. But generally, I think if you choose Chie over other girls in Persona 4, it's because you're choosing her personality, right? And that adds some serious emotional points to the whole situation. Anyway, Chie's social link is really good. Not the absolute best, not just filler content, but genuinely good, in my opinion. Oh, and since Chie is a top tier for endgame fights, I highly recommend pursuing her social link anyway in any playthrough. So I'd easily rank this social link at A tier. And yeah, by the way, we're doing social link tier list now. Why not? Not long after all the lovey-dovey stuff with our new GF, we get our hands on the sea fishing rod and finally catch the Sea Guardian, completing the Fishing Master achievement. And actually, before you know it, we also max out Yosuke's social link. And oh boy, Yosuke. You know, I believe the Persona protagonist is only as good as his wingman. And in Persona 3, we had Junpei, and in Persona 5, we had Morgana, so yeah. But at the same time, Magician Arcana is very symbolic and requires some deeper knowledge of the topic of the whole Arcana lore. But what I managed to make out of numerous tarot card sites I have visited, and those sites really looked like every hyperlink is going to steal my credit card information, I understood that Magician is the first entity which Fool encounters on his journey and basically acts as a voice of consciousness for the player. In terms of its broader meaning, the Magician Arcana in its upright position represents untapped potential and pure willpower, while its reversed position signifies deception and manipulation. It is indeed fascinating that in Taro lore, and yes, I keep saying Taro lore because it is really a thing, the Magician and High Priestess Arcanas are closely intertwined, though they represent contrasting concepts. And if you really think about it, it is also reflected in the backgrounds of the characters. For example, Yukiko, associated with the High Priestess Arcana, is the heir of a traditional and long-standing inn or ryokan, and on the other hand, Yosuke represents the Magician, is the heir of Junes, a modern hypermarket. So the more you delve into this social link stuff, the more layers you uncover, and well, that's pretty amazing. But I digress, let's get back to Yosuke. So being the son of a big supermarket manager, Yosuke constantly deals with gossip and people trying to take advantage of him because of his position. And actually here's the real kicker of his social link, as Saki Konishi, the second victim of the serial killer, actually worked part-time at Junes. Saki's family shop was the first to go out of business because of the competition. And guess what? She was Yosuke's love interest as well. Now that she's gone, he's kind of like stuck in the state of limbo without any closure. He never had the chance to reveal his true feelings to her, and at the same time, he knew deep down that she resented him because of the business rivalry, but she never explicitly said that. So he was neither rejected nor accepted by her, and he never will be because he's left behind. And whew, fuck me, this is some top-notch storytelling for Social Link. The way it unfolds across the ranks, the little details sprinkled here and there, it's like Yosuke could have his own miniseries with this material. And actually he kinda has his own miniseries, by the way. And of course there's that incredibly powerful scene in the end where you can embrace him while he's in tears. And then you also fight each other to become equal. Shit, this is prime example of an amazing bromance, and I absolutely love Yosuke for it. So I'm definitely putting Yosuke's social link to an S tier. Alright, we have a few social links at rank 9 at that point, but we'll get to them later. For now, it's time to dive into the lab dungeon to save Naoto. After some grinding, we come back to the hub to fuse some personas and actually get a Fusion Expert achievement for doing 50 fusions. And not long after, we managed to deal over 999 damage to get Going Nova. By the way, this particular enemy in the lab receives a metric shit ton of damage for some reason, so it's the easiest way to get this achievement this early in the game. And just before facing the boss, I make a quick visit back to the hub to heal up and visit the Velvet Room. To my surprise, it seems that I got some new personas through the card shuffle, so as soon as we arrive at the Velvet Room, Margaret kindly informs us that we have now filled 50% of the compendium, granting us the Moderate Bookkeeper achievement. And during the same fusion session, I managed to create Tam Lim, who is a special fusion, and since it's the first special fusion that we've done, we also get a Special Fusion Expert achievement. A lot of special fusions in this one sentence. My writing skills are just on point. Finally, we confront Shadow Naoto, which surprisingly turns out to be relatively easy. Probably it's because I'm significantly overleveled by that point, or perhaps the fight itself is designed to be more manageable. While it does have the potential to deliver one-shot attacks, overall it doesn't pose a significant threat if you come prepared with the right personas and well-balanced team setup. Regardless, once we emerge victorious, we rescue Naoto, she awakens her persona, and we earn another story-related achievement for completing the dungeon, titled Boarded Up Lab. And we're back to our daily life again. And from here on, we are about to finish a lot of social links, but also start a few new ones. specifically one with Shu while working as a tutor and another one with, well, Naoto herself. But first we finally complete Nanako's social link and oh wow, Nanako is just too cute. She really just brings out the big bro vibes in you. Like you're ready to protect her from any evil out there. Nanako's Arcana is justice, and it may seem quite serious for a young girl to embody such a significant Arcana. However, there is a logical and profound meaning behind this. One aspect is the close connection between justice and the Judgment Arcana, and as we progress towards the end of the game, the significance of this connection will become much clearer. Justice represents the concept of, well, justice itself, highlighting the idea that every action we take carries consequences that the fool must acknowledge. It emphasizes the principle of cause and effect as well. When the Justice Arcana is in a reversed position, it symbolizes unfairness and dishonesty, revealing the negative aspects that can arise when justice is compromised. Overall, Nanako's social link is a heartfelt journey. She grapples with feelings of sadness and loneliness, primarily stemming from the loss of her mother and Uncle Dojima's absence due to work. As a child, her whole world revolves around her parents, and she feels that it is unfair that her mother passed away and her dad is not spending time with her. Nanako has a growing belief that Dojima may not be her real dad, because a real father would always be there by her side, and it actually becomes a focal point of the social link. The climax of the social link occurs when Nanako runs away from home, and you, along with Dojima and your friends, must find her. Through this experience, Nanako comes to a realization that her dad is just as lonely and burdened with sadness as she is. This is a great representation that justice and truth are always a double-edged sword.
So I think he's the real one. He's my real dad. Dad didn't forget about how we used to pick flowers at Samagawa. He smiled at me and said, "You remember too? Dad loves Mom." I feel sorry for him losing someone he loves.
Actually, warmth and emotional depth of Nanako's social link really struck a chord with me. We've all experienced those moments of feeling lonely and misunderstood by our relatives. But hey, it's crucial to consider their feelings too, right? And you might at some point discover you have more in common with your parents than you ever imagined. This is a great lesson to learn and some nice food for thought, in my opinion. Given its touching storyline and the growth of Nanako's character, I will place this social link in A tier. And around the same time, we also finished Dojima's social link, and his story is like a synchronized dance with Nanako's. You can't really grasp the Dojima's family background and the whole plotline if you only experience one of these social links. Ryotaro Arcana is Hierophant, which represents conformity and tradition in the upright position, but also ignorance in reverse position. Dojima's drama revolves around the same theme as Nanako's, struggling to connect with his daughter and also a loss of his wife. He is actually relentlessly searching for his wife's killer, and by the way, she tragically died in a hit-and-run accident. So no wonder he's at work all the time. He's pouring his heart and soul into this one case, ignoring everything else, which connects to his Arcana, by the way. He opens up to you at some point, confessing that it's tough for him to even look at Nanako sometimes, because she reminds him so much of his late wife. But eventually he finds peace within himself and accepts you as part of the family, and also starts spending more time with Nanako. While Dojima's social link might not be as dramatic as Nanako's, it's still a captivating and heartwarming journey worth experiencing. So I'm giving it a solid B tier. It's interesting and engaging. And after that we also complete Fox's social link, which revolves around completing quests to progress. The premise is actually quite simple. The temple is lacking visitors and donations, so the fox comes up with a plan. By helping people with their wishes left on tablets, those people will believe that the temple spirits are responsible for granting their wishes. But little do they know, it's actually you who is fulfilling those wishes behind the scenes. The social link doesn't really have much of a story beyond that, actually. The final quest coincides with catching the Sea Guardian, which is necessary for an achievement, so it naturally aligns with our progress. The Fox's Arcana is Hermit, which symbolizes themes of loneliness and isolation, reflecting the state of the dilapidated temple it resides in. Interestingly, In Taro lore, the Hermit Arcana represents the Fool's journey nearing its end. While the Fool embarks on his adventure, the Hermit serves as a guide, leading individuals back to their homes. This can be linked to your role in helping people and guiding them back to the temple. In its upright position, the Hermit Arcana embodies the quest for inner guidance and the search of truth. This further reinforces the connection between the completion of quests and the underlying meaning of the Arcana itself. The fox also comes in handy in the TV world, offering SP recovery for the whole team. As you raise her social link rank, the cost of SP recovery decreases, making it quite useful during the higher ranks. And also towards the end of the game, there's a cute scene where the fox proudly introduces her adorable foxlets to you, and the temple becomes adorned in gold thanks to the generous donations it received. But despite all these charming elements, I would still place the Fox's social link in the D tier. It is enjoyable in its own way, but it doesn't quite reach the level of other social links in my opinion. It feels more like a side attraction rather than stealing the spotlight, if you know what I mean. And after that we also complete Sayoko's social link, which is a nurse from the hospital where you can work at night. And let me tell you, it's the first meh social link in the game. And it did not age well since 2007, considering all the sexual harassment undertones. It's a bit all over the place. In the beginning, for the first 3-4 ranks, she's practically trying to molest you. Then she drops the bombshell that she got fired from another hospital because she had an affair with a married doctor. So, yikes, I guess. Actually, this connects to her Arcana, the Devil. It's the first Arcana that we max out that basically has a negative meaning in upright position and positive in reverse. The upright position is represented by addiction, obsession, and dependency, which can be seen in Sayoko's state of affairs when we first meet her. But wait, there's actually more. She suddenly reveals that one of the kids she was taking care of at her previous job passed away. So she starts overworking herself to the point of exhaustion. And in the end, she makes the decision to head off to Africa to join Doctors Without Borders, which basically represents the reversed meaning of the Devil Arcana, which is freedom and independence. Well, all in all, it's a pretty chaotic storyline. I'm a fan of a good hospital drama, but they definitely could have done so much more with this one. It's really a missed opportunity, in my opinion. I'd have to give it a solid D tier all the way, and maybe, just maybe, less molesting high schoolers and more character development next time. Yeah, and Atlas clearly learned their lesson, because you can fucking romance a doctor now in Persona 5. But to be honest, I'm not saying that's a bad thing. Takemi one love. And finally, we arrive at the last social link before we dive into the next dungeon, and it's all about Yukiko. To give you some context, Yukiko is the heiress of the Amagi Inn, which happens to be the best and probably the only traditional inn in the town. Her family expects her to take over as the new manager when she grows up. But here's the twist, Yukiko doesn't actually want to continue the family business. She actually dreams of leaving the town once she finishes school, so she's working part-time jobs and studying like crazy to obtain some mysterious job license. If any Japan experts out there can shed some light on this, please do in the comment section. This state of affairs represents Yukiko in her reverse High Priestess Arcana that symbolize losing one's inner voice, intuition, and her repressed feelings. But that's not all actually. Yukiko also has to deal with noisy TV crew who wants to film an episode about the Amagi Inn because, you know, a murder took place there at the beginning of the game. Despite Yukiko and her mother turning them down repeatedly, she secretly confesses that she wouldn't actually mind if the inn's reputation took a hit. That way the inns would close down and she would finally be free. Yeah, and like half of the town will lose their jobs, so... nice one, Yukiko. Things reach a boiling point when the TV crew starts mocking Yukiko for being a countryside girl and also ridiculing the Amagi Inn for being old-fashioned. They even suggest that they can get Yukiko involved in some scandalous gravure idol business. Naturally, Yukiko loses her cool and gives them a piece of her mind. In the end, Yukiko realizes that her true desire isn't to leave Inaba or abandon her family business, she simply craves for freedom to make her own choices and be independent. This states that Yukiko's Priestess Arcana is finally in the upright position that represents regaining your inner voice and balance. Oh, and let's not forget about the romance route, of course. It's actually quite charming, with Yukiko's parents clearly pushing her out of home on Christmas Eve to spend the night with her boyfriend. Hey boy. And also, nobody finds that weird that Yukiko's persona is Amaterasu and MC's persona is Izanagi. And Izanagi is a father of Amaterasu. And if you romance Yukiko, it's like you're basically romancing your daughter? No? Nobody thought about it? Well, now you know, and you have to live with that information, the same as me. And also, take that, Yukiko fans, I guess. And I imagine Yukiko fans are like, but that's even better. Sorry about that. Overall, Yukiko's social link is a pleasant experience. Yukiko's character goes through a significant growth and there's a clear development in her storyline. I'd give her a solid B tier alongside Uncle Dojima. Finally, with stats leveled and social links completed, we come to the point of the game where the next dungeon is revealed and oh well, this one hits hard. During this time, Dojima actually learns about our involvement with the TV world and, well, let me tell you, he is not buying it. I decided to spill the beans and tell him the truth, but he simply brushes it off as a complete nonsense. But here's where the things take the dark turn. The killer strikes again, and guess who the next target is? None other than little Nanako. And to make matters worse, Dojima reveals that he knows the identity of the killer and it turns out to be Toru Namatame, the secretary of the city council. Actually, let me give you a little backstory on Namatame. Turns out he had a steamy love affair with the very first victim, the TV hostess, despite being a married man. When she was killed, naturally he became the prime suspect. And if that wasn't bad enough, his affair was exposed and he lost his job too. So kinda no wonder he's going on a killing spree, right? So Dojima goes chasing after Namatame, who has already kidnapped Nanako, but wouldn't you know it, he gets into a car accident. Now Dojima is lying in a hospital bed, barely clinging to consciousness, and he faintly believes our wild tales about the TV world. He asks us to save Nanako, and we're left with no choice but to venture deep into the TV world once again. We delve into the depths and discover Heaven, a dungeon inspired by Nanako's pure heart. It's a race against time as we chase Namatame and Nanako through the corridors of heaven. And here's where things really rubbed me the wrong way. When we finally confront Namatame, he starts spouting all this delusional talk about saving people by taking them to the TV world, not killing them. And yeah, I know it sounds absolutely bonkers. Naturally, our team doesn't buy into his delusions and we have to fight him. He transforms into Kunino Sagiri, a spirit of fog. And wow, let me warn you, the battle is no walk in the park. At some point, he'll cast a spell that enhances a random element, dealing increased damage. And if luck isn't on your side, he can straight up one-shot you. And the funny thing, you never know which element it is until he actually uses it. In the third phase, he even tries to charm our teammates, but luckily for us, they mostly rely on physical attacks. So it's not too much of a big deal, because by that time I already have Yoshitsune. Finally, we manage to defeat Kunino Sagiri, the police apprehend Namatame, and we proudly unlock our next achievement, the Return of the Angels. Once the chaos of our epic adventures settles down, we find ourselves returning to our regular daily lives. We also return all the looted materials from previous dungeons to their rightful quest givers, and one of our final quests is for none other than the school principal himself. In his gratitude for completing the task, he imparts his wisdom upon us, which proves to be invaluable. It significantly boosts our diligence, pushing it to its maximum level. With our diligence now as rock solid, we proudly unlock the Mr. Perfect achievement. And with that being done, we finally can complete the legendary food challenge at the local Chinese restaurant. And wow, let me tell you, this was quite a grind. You see, this challenge is only available on rainy days, but here's the catch. You won't stand a chance until you max out all your attributes. The good thing is that whenever you try to complete the challenge but you don't have your maximum attributes, it will actually boost 3 random attributes in the end. And I had to save scum like there was no tomorrow, reloading countless times in the hopes of getting the specific 3 stat boosts I needed on a particular day. Sometimes it would take mind-boggling 15 to 20 reloads just to get the desired boost. And let's not forget that each reload would eat up several minutes of my precious gameplay time. I kid you not, I probably spent a good 2, maybe 3 hours overall just reloading that ramen challenge. Talk about dedication, so leave a like and subscribe. But finally, the time for revenge has come. With a triumphant grin, I strolled into Chinese diner on a rainy day, ready to face the bottomless bowl of meat. And by completing that challenge, we finally get Food Fighter achievement. Also around that time, Nanako ends up in the hospital due to the strain her body endured while in the TV world. Being the responsible big bro that I am, I make sure to visit her not just once, not 5 times, but 3 times. Yeah, I'm not really good with math. But honestly, for Nanako, I would do it 10 times. And by visiting Nanako in the hospital 3 times, we get Big Bro is Worried achievement. And it's time for us to finish up some social links from that point. And the next one is Kanji, and let me tell you, it struck a chord deep within my heart that I never knew existed. His arcana is Emperor, that in reverse position represents coldness and tyranny. Indeed, when we first meet Kanji, he exudes that rebellious aura, always at odds with the police, his mother, and generally, well, the whole world. Though, whenever the police approach him, he acts all dumbfounded. I mean, seriously dude? You look like a leader of a biker gang. And what's up with that tattoo? Is that even legal at your age? The police always seem to single out Kanji as the prime suspect whenever there's a report of bullying in the area, even though he's not involved at all. It's understandably frustrating for him, and he often vents his steamy personality on his friends and relatives. During the social link, we also get a glimpse into Kanji's family life when we visit his family's shop, Tatsumi Textiles. There, we suddenly learn that Kanji's mom was rushed to the hospital. But when we ourselves rush there in panic, we discover that his mom is perfectly fine. It turns out she had simply brought a little kid to the hospital who had been hit by a bicycle earlier. In that moment, Kanji's mom reveals a heartfelt truth about him. Since childhood, Kanji has been misunderstood by his peers. While other boys played catch, he preferred playing with dolls, which caused him to be ostracized by both boys and girls alike. And so, his tough exterior and grim disposition serve as a shield, preventing people from getting too close. Later on, we also encounter the boy who lost a doll given to him by a friend. And this is actually the same boy who was hit by the bicycle earlier. The poor boy was ridiculed by other kids for playing with dolls and ended up throwing it into the river out of shame. Kanji, certainly feeling a kinship with the boy, searches for the lost doll in the river but never finds it. However, he promises to help the boy regardless. Sometime later, we meet the boy again, and in a beautiful gesture, Kanji presents the boy with 2 rabbit dolls, one for his friend and another for himself. The dolls are described to be exquisitely crafted, and the boy is amazed. He asks Kanji where he got them, and Kanji musters the courage to confess that he actually made them. It turns out that sewing is Kanji's secret hobby, and he feels deeply ashamed of it because it's not considered manly. And during the course of the social link, news of Kanji's talent spreads, and soon everyone wants one of his handmade toys, including Nanako even. Kanji finds himself surprised, but also admits that he enjoys hearing a heartfelt thank you for doing something that he loves. This actually represents his arcana getting into an upright position, which represents discipline and control. On a side note, Emperor also represents fatherhood, and we can clearly see his father instinct showing when he approached that kid in the first place. In the climax of the social link, Kanji faces yet another encounter with the police, who still suspect him of being involved in the bullying reports. However, this time he stands his ground, accompanied by his mother and the boy with the dolls. Together, they fend off police, solidifying Kanji's growth as a character. To top it all off, Kanji's knitted dolls are put on sale at Tatsumi Textiles, a testament for his personal journey. And you know, this social link really resonated with me. Kanji's transformation and self-acceptance struck a chord within me because, like him, I've had different hobbies throughout my life. Whether it was writing music, drawing, or making YouTube videos, I also had that fear of sharing my passions, afraid of rejection and mockery. It was until maybe a few years ago that I realized something profound. If you keep your hobbies to yourself, sure, you won't face criticism or ridicule, but you also won't receive praise and support. Accepting criticism is part of the journey, but your true friends and family will rally behind you all the time whenever you pour your heart and soul into something that you love. And at this point, I really want to say thank you to all my friends and especially to my wife. She always supports me with any kind of crazy shit that I do. And actually, it gives me a lot of power and motivation. So, thank you, honey. Love you. So, I think with all the factors considered regarding Kanji's social link, I think it deserves its rightful place in the S rank. Bonus points for hitting close to home. The next social link we complete is with Shu Nakajima, a brilliant middle schooler whom you have the pleasure of tutoring. At first, Shu comes off as a brat, acting arrogant and superior. However, as the story unfolds, it becomes apparent that he is under immense pressure. His mother's constant praise and high expectations push Shu to strive for perfection in his studies. While he excels academically, he neglects other important aspects of school life, leaving him with few friends and struggling in sports. Shu becomes increasingly worried when a transfer student joins his class and outshines him in every way. The pressure mounts as his classmates start to mock him for not being the best due to the transfer student's superior grades. Eventually, the stress becomes too much and Shu succumbs to the pressure, cheating during the exam. He gets suspended from school and, well, naturally his mother is furious. In the midst of all this, Shu actually reveals that it's his birthday, but no one remembers, not even his absent mother, leaving him devastated. Fortunately, you reach out to our boy Yosuke, who not only brings a delicious cake from Junes, but also gathers the entire group of characters to celebrate Shu's birthday. There's a nice and funny scene that unfolds during celebration of Shu's birthday, although I wish it was fully voiced. In the end, Shu expresses his immense gratitude for making him happy on his birthday. He reconciles with his mother, who apologizes for her anger. Shu now feels free from all the overwhelming pressure and can focus on enjoying a normal school life, pursuing his own interests. Shu's Arcana is the Tower, and it's one of the most controversial Arcanas in my opinion. It doesn't really have a clear-cut positive or negative meaning. In its upright position, the Tower represents upheaval, destruction, and sudden change. Change itself is not inherently negative. It is a natural part of life that we must learn to accept. On the other hand, when reversed, the Tower signifies averting disaster and resisting change. At the same time, I have to say that Taro meaning are always ambiguous. There is no strict classification of positive or negative traits in Taro, as each card represents different aspects of the human experience. It teaches us that every aspect, both light and shadow, is a part of our, well, persona. We must learn to accept and integrate all aspects of ourselves in order to grow and develop as individuals. Taro reminds us the importance of embracing our entirety without strict judgment of good or bad, and recognizing that all aspects contribute to the complexity of our being. In the case of Shu, the Tower Arcana represents breaking free from the confines of the devil, or you could say the boundaries that Shu has trapped himself within. The only way for him to break free is through a sudden change, which occurs when Shu cheats and quarrels with his mom. This event becomes the catalyst for his personal transformation. Many people can relate to Shu's story. While I didn't face intense parental pressure during my school days, I experienced it during university. Luckily for me, I was passionate about my studies, but dealing with high expectations can be challenging. Realizing that it's impossible to please everyone and pursuing your own passions is crucial for maintaining good mental health. So, please do it. While Shu's social link is touching and somewhat relatable, it does feel somewhat weaker compared to other social links. Therefore, I will be placing it in C tier. And now we come to Risei's social link, and I have to admit I wasn't initially a fan of her character, but her social link managed to change my perspective. It all begins with you agreeing to show Risei around the town, taking her to various cool places. During these outings, she reveals her decision to quit being an idol. She's quite popular, and she gets recognized frequently on the streets, which frustrates her. At one point, she starts telling people who recognize her that she's not reset. She wants to separate her ordinary self from her celebrity persona and leave it behind for good. Risei's Arcana is the Lovers. The reversed Lovers Arcana represents themes of indecisiveness, poor decision-making, and disharmony. It signifies a state of uncertainty and imbalance in relationships and personal choices. As the story unfolds, we meet Risei's former manager, Inoue, who desperately pleads for her return to showbiz. However, Risei firmly refuses each time. Her main concern is that people don't see the real her and that she's tired of wearing a mask of a cheerful idol. Later on, Inoue brings a letter from a middle school girl who was bullied but found strength and support in Reset's TV appearances. Risei feels anxious and saddened that she won't be able to support her fans anymore, but she remains resolute in her decision to leave the entertainment industry. Towards the end, we meet Inoue one last time, where he asks Risei to come back. She refuses, and he reveals that they have already found a replacement for her. However, he commends Risei's natural talent and praises her ability to turn her weaknesses into strength. This both angers and saddens Risei as she realizes the extent of what she's lost. In the end, Risei understands that both Reset and Risei are part of herself and decides to return to showbiz in the spring after the protagonist's scheduled departure from Inaba. Here we can see that her lover's arcana is finally in the upright position that represents unity and harmony with oneself. Well, I can't say I particularly enjoyed this social link. I understand what Risei is going through, but it's all about me, and she never stops talking about her idol career. Plus, you have to constantly suck up to her to gain the most friendship points. However, if you choose to romance her and accept her Christmas invitation, there is a moment during the Christmas prayer at the temple where she asks, "What will you wish for?" And if you respond with, "I wish your dreams come true," she delivers one of the most mature and profound lines I've heard in a while. She says,
My dream? Are you talking about my work? You don't get it, do you? I don't have any dreams. All I have are goals. That's why I won't wish for anything related to it. I want my accomplishments to be from my own hard work.
and wow, fuck me sideways, that's pretty damn cool. Initially, I wanted to place this social link in the C tier, but that line alone elevates it by 2 steps, so it's A tier all the way. Anyway, with that batch of social links maxed out, we also receive Bond Maniac achievement for completing half of all available social links. Honestly, I thought we had completed at least 2/3 of them, but oh well, there's still so much more to do. Not long after, we also have some free time and we actually managed to finish all the books in the game. So as we finish the last book, we get the Compulsive Reader achievement. And now it's time for grinding social links again. And the next one we max out is Teddy's, which progresses after completing each dungeon basically. Personally, I don't find it particularly touching. The main focus is on Teddy's quest to discover his origin and purpose in life. At the start, we witness him engulfed in despair, grappling with the uncertainty of his origin and purpose. This perfectly aligns with his arcana, which is the star, specifically represented in its reversed position. At this point in the story, Nanako still remains hospitalized after we save her from Namatame. However, she remains weak and the doctors are unsure of how to help her. The story takes a devastating turn when Nanako eventually passes away. Yeah, you heard me right. And it leaves the team and Dojima in despair. At this crucial point, the story branches, determining whether you will get the good or bad ending. In the bad ending, the team agrees to Yosuke's suggestion of throwing Namatame into the TV world, resulting in Nanako's true death. If you choose to question the team's plan and express doubts about Namatame's being the true killer, you eventually hear Namatame's side of the story and discover that he was manipulated by the real killer all along. As a result, the investigation team's social link, represented by the Fool, reaches its maximum level and transforms into the Truth Seeker's social link, now represented by Judgment. Meanwhile, a miraculous turn of event occurs as Nanako's heart begins beating again, indicated that she is alive, albeit still weak. If you remember that I mentioned during Nanako's social link that Justice and Judgment Arcanas are closely connected, one aspect is the close connection between Justice and the Judgment Arcana, and as we progress towards the end of the game, the significance of this connection will become much clearer. Well, this is it. Because now that we have uncovered the Judgment Arcana, it signifies that justice can finally be served to all wrongdoers. This serves as a fulfillment of Justice Arcana's cause and effect aspect, ultimately leading to Nanako's revival. And to be honest, this is actually a pretty damn cool thing to discover. I never really thought about this that way until I started researching all the materials for the video, and I have to say, I'm impressed. Teddy remains unaware of Nanako's survival until a few days later when the protagonist meets him in his dream. Teddy reflects on the realization that he is merely a shadow, not someone special. But the protagonist also reveals that Nanako is alive, and among other things, thanks to Teddy's talking to her on the deathbed. This revelation gives Teddy a sense of purpose, realizing that even as a shadow, he can bring out positive change in the world. This eventually leads to the maxing out of his social link. As Star Arcana represents hope, we can also see it in Teddy now, solidifying his character growth. While Teddy is a likable character, better than Morgana from Persona 5 in my opinion, I will still place this social link in the C tier, due to its lack of depth. And with finishing Teddy's social link, we actually getting to the end of part 1 of this video. And right away I have to say that I'm really sorry that I have to divide this video in 2 parts, but really I did not expect it to be that long. I thought the whole video, the whole road to platinum would be maybe 30 to 40 minutes, but then I decided to add a lot of stuff and rewrote some things, and bam, 70 pages of text that I need to record as a voiceover, then to edit everything. So yeah, it takes some time, but I've had a lot of fun, and I hope you did too. I hope this format of hour-long videos is not that bad, and it was interesting to watch. And hope you will tune in into part 2 if you watched until this very moment. Thank you so much. I appreciate it a lot. And if you feel like it, give me a like, subscribe to this channel. You can even press the small bell button, to get the notification when the part 2 comes out. And it's going to come out pretty soon, in a couple of weeks' time. Leave any kind of feedback, of course, any kind of suggestions. I appreciate everything, good, bad, criticism, praise. Praise is a bit better, of course, but still, I know that the videos aren't perfect, and I strive to get better with every video. So yeah, I will see you soon in Persona 4 Golden Road to Platinum Part 2, and have a great day, and cheers!